So we're on camera now. This is my friend Stacy.
Hello.
She's agreed to let me coach her, and I just want to remind you that we're on camera to help me get my certification. And she's agreed to do it on camera. So that's out of the way. Okay. So we're going to start with, I got your intake form and I went over that, and I came up with a tentative action plan. Usually the first go around, I like to kind of give you one as a guideline to use. We'll go over it in detail. If there's any of these things that don't work for you, you just let me know.
Okay.
But we'll have to replace them with something else, so you'll need to have an alternate idea in mind, okay? And the initial action plan should take you through the first 2 weeks. And I'll touch base with you during that time. Towards the end of that second week, I will send you a blank action plan. It will look very much like this one, but you will be responsible for filling it out yourself, setting your own goals, and we'll go over that some more. But I did go over your intake form. There's some personal stuff in here, so I am not going to go through it in detail on camera. Give you some privacy, but I do want to talk about your life wheel, which actually is incredibly balanced, so you should be really proud of that. Everything is between like a 7 and a 9 here, or a 6 and a 9. So there's not a lot of, you can see by the example that sometimes our lives can get really unbalanced, but it sounds like you have good balance in your life, so that's something that we don't have to tackle, which is great. I thought a good initial goal for you, and I think it's a good initial goal for anybody going through the coaching process, especially women, is our self-chatter, the things we say to ourselves about ourselves. Some of that comes from things that other people have said to us in our lives, and some of that just comes from our own low self-esteem. So I think that is going to be, I feel like that would be a good initial goal for you.
Okay.
How do you feel about that?
I think that would benefit me greatly.
Okay.
Just to replace. You mean in terms of replacing what?
I mean, in terms of, you have some other goals that you wanted to achieve, and I mean as a starting point.
Sure.
I think if we can change maybe the way you talk to yourself in your head, that it'll make some of these other goals a little easier to achieve.
All right.
You are free to disagree with that, and we can go with that.
No, I agree with that completely.
Okay, so this is the phase 1 of your action plan. Okay, so what this is, we start out with your goal, and then we're going to do 3 action steps that you can take towards your goal in the next 2 weeks. So this is something you will determine what your next goal after this is going to be, and you will determine what those action steps are. But like I said, for this initial action plan, I kind of did that for you. Okay. So your goal is, one of your goals is to identify how your experiences have shaped your work. That will kind of help you determine some of that chatter that you've got going on. So for 3 action steps that I can take towards my goal in the next 2 weeks, the first one I have on here is to identify your self-chatter. I think that's important. We talk to ourselves all the time, and I think we're largely unaware of the things that we say to ourselves, yet they drive every decision we make and the way we approach every situation in our lives. So I think it's important to identify what you say to yourself about yourself. I would write down the top 3 negative things. Just keep a small pad of paper, or you can use an app, some kind of app on your phone. And when you catch yourself, I can't do that, I'm going to fail this test, things like that, I want you to write those things down, and then you'll see what's occurring most. Okay? The reason we want to do that, I'll tell you here in a little bit. You also identified that when you were younger, one of the most important people in your life, your brother, kind of made you feel small. So I think it would be beneficial to write down the 3 things he said to you the most, that hurt you the most. Okay? And that can be a little painful. That's something for you to kind of explore on your own. We're not going to go too deep here. And then you were in a previous relationship that was abusive, yes? and I want you to identify 3 things that she made you feel about yourself that was negative too. Okay? So we're going to identify a lot of negative stuff at first, and that may seem kind of counterintuitive to what we're doing, but that's because the next 3 action steps, you're going to counter every one of those statements.
Okay.
So after you've identified that, and that can take several days, it might even take the whole first week, because like I said, some of this stuff will be a little painful, but I want you to write counter statements for the 3 things you tell yourself, the 3 things that your brother told you, and the 3 things you got from your previous relationship.
Okay.
So let's say your brother called you stupid. Let's say that was one of the things he said. So what would a counter statement for that be?
I'm smart.
Yes, I am not stupid. I'm smart. Yep. So you're just going to write a counter statement for every one of those negative statements, okay? And then I would like you to turn those into affirmations. You don't have to have like 9 affirmations. If you want to group some of those together, do you know what an affirmation is?
I do. Yes.
Okay. So just write out some affirmations, put them someplace that you can see. Bathroom mirror is usually a good place. And I want you to be really conscious about repeating those to yourself to the place where they eventually replace the negative stuff in your head. That will help, okay? Repetition is key. You know, you've been telling yourself things your whole life. It takes time to turn that ship around. So be diligent, consistent about it, and that's why we're going to touch base. I'll touch base with you. I'm interested to see what your affirmations will be, and if you're sticking to telling yourself, because sometimes it's easier to be mean to ourselves than it is to be nice to ourselves.
Yeah.
But I will just be checking on you. This is your plan. You can put as much or as little into it as you want, but if there are some things in your life that you really want to turn around, you're going to have to commit. And it's a commitment to yourself. You're worth it.
Yes.
So this goes a little deeper than I normally do. I don't really do a lot of digging in the past, because you can kind of turn around your future without doing that. But because I know you and I know some of your owie spots, I think there's some things here that you can do that will help you. So I would like you to think about and write the story of the pain around your brother. And then, like, how old were you when it started, and when did it quit, and what was happening in your family, and then I want you to rewrite the ending of that story in a way that you would have wished it happened. Okay? Just write yourself a new story. Another thing that you might find helpful, it's not anything that you have to send even, but you may want to write your brother a letter. You can keep it, you don't have to send it, but you can, and that might be productive too. You don't have to do those things. If you feel like we can turn this around without exploring that, that's fine, okay? But there's just some ideas. You can take those or leave those. I would definitely write your counter statements and write your affirmations, but the piece about your brother is yours to do or not do, because only you know if that would be beneficial to you or not.
I'm sure that it would.
Yeah, that would also be painful.
Yeah.
Speaking of painful, so one of the things that's helpful when you're setting goals is to try to predetermine your obstacles, because if you can kind of identify them from the start, you can create plans to overcome those obstacles before you even run into them.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So I've identified some obstacles here, again, because I know you. And if there are any others here, or any that you feel are more important than the ones I wrote down, let me know, and we can change any of those. But the top 5 obstacles that I anticipated for you was emotional pain. That is an obstacle for you, which would probably result in shutting down. You like to do that, so you don't get obstacle 3, which is tearfulness. Those are things that you don't enjoy. Not that anybody does. And obstacle 4 I anticipated was anger. And of course, obstacle 5 is everybody's biggest obstacle usually, and that's time constraints. You work 2 jobs and you go to school. So, but it's important that you make time for yourself. So, now that we have obstacles identified, are there any that you want to add to or change?
No,
Okay. So we can
this should know
stick with
me
these.
pretty well.
Yes, I guess so. If you come across any in the next week or 2, let me know and we can work through those, okay?
Okay.
So now that we have obstacles, we have to have a victory plan for those obstacles,
Okay.
right? So when we come across them, we've already got a plan in place. And this is all very important in setting goals. It's harder to achieve goals if you just are setting some random goal and trying to hit it without a plan.
Okay.
It's like your map.
Right.
So, victory plan for emotional pain. Realize emotional growth often involves emotional pain and that it is temporary and a sign of growth. Okay? So, when you hurt, just remind yourself that it's a sign that you're growing.
Okay.
And that's a good thing. Growth is a good thing. The shutting down. One of the things that you can do, if this gets too hard to deal with, is set a timer. Set a timer for 10 minutes. And for 10 minutes, you're going to dive into that painful subject. You're going to think about it. You're going to mull it over. You're going to work towards your goals. And once that timer goes off, you'll know it's finite. You just have to do it for 10 minutes. And then you can go play Candy Crush or whatever you do to shut down or escape.
Okay.
But give yourself some time to get in there. But at least if you set a timer, then you'll know it's finite. It has an end.
Okay.
It's not just going to go on, okay? You didn't die. Congratulations. Now go do whatever you want. Okay? So number 3 for cheerfulness. Just to understand that it is okay to cry. And I'm going to let you read the rest on your own because it's a little emotional. But it has to do with honoring who you were when those things happened to you. Okay? But you just got to know that it's okay now. Those things happened and you made it through when they actually happened, so it can't hurt that bad anymore. Anger. Anger is generally an emotion that covers another emotion. Everybody considers anger an emotion, but it's really not. Anger is kind of the trench coat of other emotions.
Yeah.
When people don't want to deal with emotional pain or tearfulness, they put on the coat of anger because it's easier to be angry than to
Sure.
be sad or hurt. So just the goal is to try to uncover the root. Are you really mad? Or are you feeling betrayed? Or are you feeling hurt? Or...
I get mad when I cry.
Mm-hmm. Yes. You get mad when you cry. And that is a direct correlation. You get mad immediately to cover the pain, right? Okay. So, so the goal is to uncover what the anger is covering. Hurt, abandonment, betrayal, disappointment. It can be a myriad of negative emotions that you just don't want to deal with. You're generally not an angry person. So
No,
it could be an obstacle, but probably not for you. Time constraints. Very unemotional topic.
Yay.
Yes, work and school are important, but nothing is more important than self-care. Nothing. So identify 30 minutes a day for yourself. Even if you've just got to sit in your car for 30 minutes somewhere, just 30 minutes for self-care. Do your affirmations, set the 10-minute timer. We find a time for the things we value, and that's true.
That is true.
Yeah, you value Candy Crush and Pokemon Go. You find time for those. You can find time for you too,
All
right?
Yeah.
Okay. So, and if there's any other, as these come up, let me know, especially if you get stuck. If you
Okay.
get stuck in any of this, let me know and I'll help you get
Okay.
unstuck. You can help
Okay.
yourself get unstuck, but I will help you help yourself get unstuck.
Thank you.
Yes. So, those are your goals for the next couple of weeks. I want you to work on those. I want you to work on those negative statements. I want you to work on the counter statements. and the other things about your brother if you want to. When you run into some trouble, use this. What was my victory plan for that obstacle? I'm having that obstacle. What's my victory plan for that obstacle?
Okay.
You can refer back to this.
Okay.
If you come up against an obstacle you didn't anticipate, you can email me or text me or call me.
Okay.
Okay? But I think this is plenty to work on for the next 2 weeks. I don't want you to get overwhelmed.
Okay.
And we'll see how you're doing. If we need to extend this self-chatter goal for the next 2 weeks after that, we can. But if you feel like you've got a pretty good grip on it and you want to move on to one of your other goals, then I will email you a blank one of these and you can work on working some of this out yourself. And I'm always available when you have trouble. It's not always easy to see yourself and think about what kind of obstacles you might run into, or you might be able to identify the obstacles really well, but have trouble with the victory plan for the obstacles. So, so I can help you with that. What I tell everyone and what my motto has been is, it's just really important for me that you know that you have everything inside of you already to do all of these things that you want to do. I mean, we're born with it. Sometimes it just gets covered up with life. So I'm not here to tell you what to do. I'm here to help you figure it out for yourself, because you're much more likely to stick with something that you've come up with yourself. But this initial taking off can be a little difficult, so I do a little more up front, and then you do all the heavy lifting on the back side.
Okay.
Do you have any questions about anything that we talked about?
So, this is what I'm working on next week, right?
This is what you're working on, this first page. These are your obstacles
Okay.
and helpful hints to help you with those obstacles. These are what you'll be working on for the next 2 weeks, actually.
Okay.
And I'll touch base with you once a week. If you need to touch base more often than that, just let me know and we'll get that figured out. But these are the things that you'll be working on.
Okay.
If you have any questions about them as you go through them, you're welcome to ask.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Does that feel like a fair load for the next couple of weeks, or is that a little too much, do you think, or?
No.
You think that's doable?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. All right. Do you have any questions about any of it?
I don't.
Okay. Well, these are yours to take with you. I'm going to keep your intake form. And then before you go, there's just some statements I want you to initial, and then I'm going to give you a copy of this because I think it's really important that you understand that you're not aiming for perfection, but improvement, and that you promise to be honest with me regarding victories, setbacks, and disappointments, even if you know it's because you're not pulling your own weight. That's okay. We all get in slumps, so that's okay. But I can't help you if you're not honest with me about that.
Okay.
This one is really important. I like this one. I want you to find a way to celebrate your victories. That's just for you. You don't even have to share with me what that is, but I want you to think of something that you can do for yourself. It doesn't have to be anything big, but it's important that we celebrate our victories. It helps propel us forward. That you'll tell me if you think we need to do a different approach. But it's important that you have reasons for wanting to change the approach and that you have an alternative in mind. Okay?
Okay.
That just promotes self-responsibility. That I can count on you to do the work, dig for the hard stuff, and not bail when things get tough.
Okay.
So, and that you understand that I'm there to guide you, but the decisions to do or not do the work are yours and yours alone. So, part of being a coach is holding your feet to the fire. If you call me with a bunch of excuses about why you weren't able to get the work done, if I don't feel like they're valid, I'll let you know. We all work, we all have responsibilities, but it's important that you do the things that you've committed to doing.
Okay.
Now, if there's some big trauma or somebody dies or something like that, I'm not, going to beat you up over something like that. But the little things that get in our way, like I said, we make time for the things that are important. and to acknowledge that you have everything you need to achieve your goals, that lives in you already. And it would be good to turn that into an affirmation. It's one of the things you should say out loud to yourself, that you have everything that you need to achieve your goals. It's already inside of you. And then here is 4 affirmations that can help get you started if you have trouble with your affirmations. I don't think you will, though. I think when you identify those negative things, that the positive counterstatements will come pretty easily to you. You can add these to them if you want to. You can use them instead of some other ones. You don't have to use them at all. But 4 of them, it says, everything I need to achieve my goals lives in me already. I have value simply because God created me. I am capable, kind, generous, grateful, and patient. I am able to make good decisions in my own best interest and in the best interest of those I love.
I like that.
And I think all those things are very true about you. So you can add those to yours if you'd like, but you don't have to. There are some things that just came to mind. So like I said, before you leave, I'm going to have you initial those, and then we will each keep a copy of those, so when things get hard, I'll remind you.
Okay.
Okay. So this will all be yours to take with you, and these are mine to keep.
Okay.
So I'll get a pen and you can initial those, and then I'll get you your copy.
Okay.
Thank you for meeting here today. I appreciate it. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.